So today, what is today's date actually? So today is March 8th. This is the third day of hardening off my cucumber plants, and I kind of wanted to show you the setup, how it's working out. In the last video, I showed you how I'm protecting them from the cold weather using a clear plastic bag to kind of cover them and create sort of a greenhouse microclimate sort of situation. I updated that a little bit today because I'm also hardening off my tomato plants. I'm going to show you what those look like, what the updates were, how it's working, and then a little bit later we'll bring everything in and I'll kind of show you some things about the cucumber that I mentioned in my last video. Wasn't really able to show you. So let's go. Alright, so I wanted to give an update on how I've been hardening off my cucumber and tomato plants. I'm still using the same clear plastic bags to keep the climate about 10 degrees warmer for the plants. I added a microphone stand just to prop the plastic up and keep the bag nice and loose and give the plants plenty of room to grow and breathe. And I'm using my camera tripod on the other side to help keep the plastic up as well. And I'm using pots to expand the bag to comfortably fit as many plants as I can. So aside from the mic stand, everything is pretty much the same, and the plants are doing really well despite how cold and rainy California's been. Okay, so these have been out here for really just over 4 hours, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this apart and you can kind of see everything. Oh no! Oops. Okay, so this is what we have. You can see everything is doing okay. We've got some moisture just from the weather that we've had and the moisture that's in the bag. No pests. Leaves are looking good. These have been out here just over 4 hours. Yeah, this is the mic stand that I used to prop up the bag, and then I just used a camera tripod and used these other containers to kind of spread the bag out and keep it from weighing down on the plants too much, and it's done a pretty good job. I think we'll be in a good position to plant these permanently over the weekend, so look forward to that. Alright, I'm back inside and I have my cucumber plants here and my tomato plants here. And I wanted to go over a couple of things involving the care routine and maybe talk a little bit more about the cucumber and tomatoes that I'm growing. So let's take a look at what we've got. So starting with the cucumber, we've got some Sweet Success cucumbers here. And then in the back here, we have 2 pick-a-bushel cucumbers. This is one of the cucumbers that we cut recently that had some of the diseased leaves, and if you look at it here, it's looking pretty nice. There are no other spotty leaves on either of these plants. They're looking really, really good. But you can see they're looking just fine after 3 days of hardening off. So remember, hardening is that process of getting them used to the outdoors slowly over time. Today is the 3rd day. They sat outside for about 4 hours. So one of the things I wanted to mention that I talked about in my last video is surface roots. So take a look at those little bumps there. There's a root coming out, and so these are surface roots. So this is a very normal behavior in cucumber plants. What they tend to do is when they're growing or they're getting drier or under stress, or maybe they're not so much under stress, they're just growing into their containers a little bit more, they grow these surface roots that take nutrients from the surface of the soil. So while these roots down here at the bottom, there's some water-soluble fertilizer in that water. So they're taking up nutrients from the bottom, and then these take up nutrients from the top, but they also stabilize the plant. So it can, you know, when the wind blows, it has kind of an anchor for it to be stable. Let's see, I'm going to turn this around. This is one that we cut, and as you can see, even though we cut it, we have really good growth coming in right here. There's a new leaf, and you can see there's new leaves coming in on the vine. If my camera will focus, there we go. You can kind of see new leaves coming in on the vine, and it's kind of a cool thing. So when we cut this stem here, we cut it because it was all brown and spotty. And what the cucumber plant will do if it has leaves like that is all of these roots here in the bottom and the surface roots, they're supplying energy as well as sun coming down and hitting the leaves. All of that is providing energy to the plant, and you want all of that energy to grow into new healthy leaves like this, healthy leaves like this little guy there. And if you have a damaged or diseased leaf, the cucumber plant doesn't really know that it's diseased. It just knows that it needs to send energy so that it can keep growing that diseased leaf. And since that leaf is dying anyway, it's kind of a waste of that energy. So we want to cut it off and allow it to send its nutrients to new healthy growth. That's kind of what I wanted to touch on the cucumbers. As you can see, they're pretty healthy. And if I go to my closet, here are the other cucumbers, and they are doing very well also. And you can kind of see they aren't floppy, they're nice and firm leaves. They have a bit of a dry texture, and that's a normal texture. When I grew cucumbers for the first time, I thought that they were drying out or something, but that's just how their leaves are. They kind of have a fuzzy texture to them as well.
Stop it. Get some help.
Coming back over here, we have my tomatoes, and I'm growing 3 different variety of tomatoes here. I just kind of wanted to show you what they look like. So down here, these are black crim tomatoes, which are these really large, kind of green and dark red to almost brown colored tomato. They're very rich and tasty. San Marzano tomatoes, you can use those in pastas, salads, sandwiches. They're really, really nice, flavorful tomatoes. And then this variety is called Big Rainbow, and I've never grown this before, but they're supposed to be like a yellow and orange, very large fruit, but the plant gets to be about, I think, 3 feet tall, about the size of a San Marzano plant, whereas these black crim and a lot of these heirloom tomatoes tend to grow 8 feet tall sometimes. So I mentioned earlier, these are all heirloom tomatoes. So what does that actually mean? I can grow these, harvest the fruit, and save the seeds, grow them next year, and I will get exactly the same type of tomato. And so they will continue to produce the same fruit generation after generation. Hence they are heirlooms. So that's a little bit about the tomatoes that I'm growing here. And I've also been hardening these tomatoes at the same time as my cucumbers, which I didn't show in the last video, but I started these on the same day. And they actually sat outside for 4 hours with the cucumbers. And as you can see, there aren't any particularly floppy leaves. They're very firm stems. You can actually see, so check out this little stem here. So you have your main vine going up. You can see new leaves growing out of that. But in between these stems, you can see there's a tiny little leaf growing out of there. These are very young, but these are called suckers. And basically what they'll do, if you let them grow, they'll actually grow a completely new vine. And when you're growing tomatoes and you want to maximize fruit, you really don't want too many of those. So I'm pulling that off, even though it's very small. But you can kind of see another one in there, on that tomato there in the middle. And these will pop up every so often. And you typically, especially if you're growing in containers, you don't really want to have too many of these things bogging down your plant. You want as much of the nutrients as possible to go into the leaves at the top and on the sides, and not into new vines. You simply want it to go into the leaves, and you want the energy to go into the fruit. Very similarly to when you cut a sick leaf off the cucumber plant, you also cut off suckers or new vines from your main stem, and you'll get more larger, more flavorful fruits from that tomato plant because it can devote a lot of its resources and energy to producing that. And if we ever see any of that spotting on any of these leaves again, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna snip them off just like we did before. That's what I'm growing. I have more things that I'm growing here, and I will get into what all of these are in more detail later. You can kind of see what some of them are. I'm actually trying to grow strawberries for the first time, and I have a couple other cucumber plants called lemon cucumbers and an eggplant. And while I'm at it, here are the tomatoes. I also have a whole bunch of different types of peppers, and I will do videos on how I care for peppers and harden those off, plant those, and take care of them in containers as well. So be sure you subscribe to get updates on those videos. I will definitely teach you everything I know, as well as everything I'm learning along the way. Gardening is a journey. It is a learning experience. Can't know everything, and I certainly don't. So I just want to share what I know and learn along with you. So if you'd like to join, definitely subscribe. Oh, and I wanted to show off this Android 19 that I just got from Cousin Michael. Thank you, Cousin Michael. He's going right here with the other big boys. This is some of my collection, and just like I'm showing you my garden, I might as well just show off some of my anime and Dragon Ball figure collection. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit of a fan. Stick around for that if you're interested too. Alright, so that about wraps up this video. So thank you so much. I will be showing you guys a lot more of what I'm growing in more detail, how I'm taking care of everything. I'll teach you a little bit about how to start seeds, how to make your own starting mix, how to fertilize soil, and grow vegetables and food in containers, since that's primarily what I'm doing. So definitely stick around, like, subscribe, all that stuff, so you get notified when a new video comes out. Otherwise, thank you so much. See you next time.